It was right after senior year, just before the summer disappeared. We went riding them old farm runs, hanging out on the gate of his truck. We threw a blanket beneath the sunset, being brave as 18 gets. We gave each other more than our hearts, with the help of a mason jar. Drinking watermelon moonshine, cut the burn with a little lime, parking back in them kudzu vines. I was his and every bit of that boy was mine. Too young to know what love was, but we were learning on the sweet buzz. There's never nothing like the first time, and mine's always gonna taste like watermelon moonshine. I don't remember where we got it from, I just remember feeling all grown up, taking pulls like it ain't no thing. Never told him it was my first drink, but I told him that he was the one. You're so sure when you're that young, you think you got it all figured out. And now I laugh when I think about drinking watermelon moonshine. We cut the burn with a little lime, parking back in them kudzu vines. I was his and every bit of that boy was mine. Too young to know what love was, but we were learning on a sweet buzz. There's never nothing like the first time, and mine's always gonna taste like watermelon moonshine. I thought that high would last forever, and that ain't what it does. Maybe we were drunk in love, or maybe we were just drinking watermelon moonshine. We cut the barn with a little lime, parking back in them kudzu vines. I was his and every bit of that boy was mine. Too young to know what love was, but we were learning on a sweet buzz. There's never nothing like the first time, and mine's always gonna taste like watermelon moonshine, watermelon moonshine.
Vodka whiskey's gonna ease my mind. Beach towel dress on the drying line. Do I remind you of your daddy in his 88 Ford? Labrador hanging out the passenger door. The sand from your hair is blowing in my eyes.
Ship built by the U.S. Navy, built in 1854, commissioned in 1855, and then she served for 100 years. Her first tour was off the coast of the Mediterranean, and then her second tour was as the flagship for the African Squadron, meaning we're going after slave ships. She was in charge of 9 other ships in the fleet, and she was credited with over 14 ships caught and over 4,000 lives saved. She herself caught 3, the most notable being the Cora, which had 705 people on it. After that, she went back to the Mediterranean to protect our shipping interests during the Civil War, and then she spent some time down in Annapolis as a training ship and up in Rhode Island, also as a training ship. She also went over to Ireland to bring food during the potato famine, so some humanitarian work. And then in World War II, she served as a flagship again for Admiral Ingersoll. And then she was brought here and decommissioned in 1955. We are a 22-gun sloop of war. So yes, we have 22 guns on this ship. 16 8-inch chambered guns, 4 32-pound long guns, and then we would have had a 20 and a 30-pound Parrott rifle. I am sitting on a 20-pound Parrott rifle currently. Now the guns downstairs are very, very large. They require 9 pounds of gunpowder, a 51.5-pound shot, cannonball. But they weren't very accurate. They were smooth bore. Let's say we were firing at our submarine. About maybe 30% of the time we'd be able to hit the numbers 423. That's why you would aim at the water line. Much larger distance. Now, the gun I'm sitting on is a lot more accurate. It's a Parrott rifle. It has the word rifle in its name. So very much like our modern weapons today, there are lands and grooves in the barrel that will put a spin on the projectile. Our projectiles look very much like a modern bullet. This only needed 2 pounds of gunpowder and 20-pound shell, 20-pound Parrott rifle. Let's say we were aiming at the Domino's sugar sign. Way out there. It's a much farther distance. About 95% of the time we'd be able to stick one of our projectiles straight through the center of the D. That's why you would use these to slow a ship down, because if we were using the big guns down below to fire at the slave ships where all of the slaves held. At the waterline, in the hold. We're not trying to hurt the people we're trying to save. So aiming at the masts, the rigging, anything to slow the ship down, you need the more accurate guns for. Alrighty, ready to learn how to load and fire these?
Yeah.
Very first step, gloves, leather gloves. Safety first. If you use modern materials when working with gunpowder, you could probably, well, you will have your gloves melt to you. So, leather. The next step is to worm the gun out. This is our worm. Historically, it'd be brass at the top, but it's fancier metal. It won't spark against the iron. We do this to make sure that there is nothing in the barrel that will become a projectile. We do like our friends over at the Spirit of Baltimore. We do not want to sink their ship, so we won't use projectiles today. And about 4 years ago, one of my coworkers actually fished out a toy car, so we always check. The next step is to sponge out the gun. It's our very large sponge. We dampen it slightly. Now we do this because if we're firing in succession, if there is any gunpowder left in here, what happens when you add fresh gunpowder to some lit embers? We'll have a premature explosion. Now there was a gun crew during the Battle of Antietam that was not sponging their gun, and unfortunately the loader lost his hands that day. So always sponge the gun. Would you hold that for me?
Sure.
Now this required 2 pounds of gunpowder, but the last time we used 2 pounds, we shook the windows of the High Regency. So in order to comply with the City of Baltimore and the fire department, we used 4 ounces today. The charges would also be kept in bags of silk or flannel. If any of you sew, you might know how expensive that is. So today we use tin foil. So we're just going to put the charge in the barrel, and then on the other side of the sponge is our rammer. We'll ram the charge home. No, we're not.
Ah.
Wow. Look at my beautiful ship. All this rope work. If we lit this right now, we'd be setting our ship alight. At this point, I do need some assistance. If you've ever wanted to run out some 19th century artillery, now is your chance. Remember, this is the Navy. We can't conscript. Come on. Anyone wish to help?
Go help. I'm really sweaty.
Take a step on the outside of the line. Come on. We can do it too. Y'all can set your stuff down.
Alright.
I
I'm gonna
promise
go do
the
it.
ship isn't very dirty. One on each side. Some more line will come out. You're going to want to speed a little forward. You're going to be listening for a couple commands. The first one is action. That is when you bend over and you take the slack out of the line. If there's slack, you're a slacker. No slackers today. And on the word haul, you're just going to stand up and pull. Now you want to keep your feet planted, knees a little bent, and we're not going to play sailor dominoes, right? So just stay put. Action, haul, action, pull. Everyone get it? Alrighty. Action, haul. Action, haul. Action, haul. One more little one. Action, haul. That as well. You may drop your lines. Nice little round of applause for my gun crew. Thank you so much. Alrighty, at this point I do have to ask everyone to take a step behind the first mast. I'm about to puncture a hole in our charge, making it a live weapon.
Woo!
This here is our primer. Inside of this, there's a substance called fulminate mercury. It's a very volatile substance, and there's also a little gunpowder. So we pull this pin, it causes a chemical reaction, sending a spark straight down into our charge. Now, during this time period, there's really no ear protection, but you had to protect your hearing somehow, especially down on the gun deck with all the very large guns going off. How do you think you'd protect your hearing? Go ahead, show me. You'd be deaf, you'd be deaf, you'd be deaf. If you stick your fingers in your ears, there's this magical thing called barometric pressure. When the guns go off, that pressure changes. It'll shoot your fingers straight into your eardrums. Now, it wasn't a question of if you would go deaf in the Navy, it was when, so you don't want to speed that up. Also, the surgeon might have a hard time getting your fingers out of your ears. You might lose a couple fingers. So use the palm of your hands. The next step is to open your mouth. Again, for that barometric pressure change. If you kept your mouth closed, there is nowhere for the gases in your body to escape. And this causes internal bleeding, basically a little implosion in your body. This was called the walking death. You'd be fine for a couple hours walking around, maybe you start looking a little ashen, and then you just keel over. And then the last step is to stay on your toes. Because the only thing that is holding one of those guns from becoming a loose cannon and ricocheting across the ship is one breaching line. Do we have any prior service in here? Okay, so this is military grade. It's good for anywhere between 2 to 100 firings. Who knows? So when I give the command, make ready, you're gonna look a little something like this. Alrighty? Now you do not have to do that. We are on the spar deck in the open air with very little gunpowder, but if you would like to participate, try it out. I have a couple more safety things and then we'll start. Have a nice little lanyard. Make ready.
remember that beat down basement couch. I'd sing you my love songs and you'd tell me about how your mama ran off and pawned her ring. I remember everything. A cold shoulder, closing time, you were begging me to stay till the sun rose. Strange words come on out of a grown man's mouth when his mind's broke. Pictures and passing time, you only smile like that when you're drinking. I wish I didn't, but I do. Remember every moment on the nights with
you. You're drinking everything to ease your mind. But when the hell are you gonna ease mine? You're like concrete feet in the summer heat. It burns like hell when two souls meet. No, you'll never be the man that you always swore. But I remember you singing in that 88th ward. A cold shoulder, closing time, you were begging me to stay till the sun rose. Strange words come on out of a grown man's mouth when his mind's broke. Pictures and passing time, you only smile like that when you're drinking. I wish I didn't, but I do. Remember every moment of the nights with you.
cold shoulder, closing time, you were begging me to stay till the sun rose. Strange